Would you consider 2019 James Harden as one of the greatest offensive seasons in league history? I mean, you have to. 36 points per game, 57 30-point games, a month where he averaged almost 44 a night, and a streak of 32 consecutive 30-point games. It was a historically great season, one that was only made possible by what happened just a year prior. Harden and the Rockets had seemingly cracked the code up 3-2 in the 2018 Western Conference Finals against the Warriors super team, and they fumbled it. They lost Game 6 on the road, then collapsed in Game 7 at home, clanking 27 straight threes. No one wanted to see Golden State back in the finals, but in hindsight, I'm glad it happened because Harden's failure fueled the fire for his ridiculous 2019 season. One that saw the league's best scorer turning to a human Zen. Harden's failure fueled the fire for his ridiculous 2019 season. One that saw the league's best scorer turn into an unguardable machine. Harden and the Rockets started out the 2019 season the same way the previous one ended. They got killed by 19 at home, and James Harden had scored just 18. Not the best start to his season, and it became a theme. Harden plays well, they lose. 40-13, lose. 54-8-13, and guess what? They lose. The Rockets were 9-11 to start this season, and they were also the 14th seed in the West. These guys were supposed to be championship contenders, and they're at the bottom. They were just one win away from the finals, and after coming off a 3-game losing streak in mid-December, Harden was starting to get the hint that he'd have to take his game to a different level. So in the 27th game of the season, at home against LA, he did just that. 50 points, 10 rebounds, and 11 dimes. This was the moment Harden got his swagger back. Just a few nights later, he drills a daggered step-back 3 against Utah to cap off a monster 47-point night, and in his next game, 35-9 in a win over the Wizards to put them 2 games over 500. However, the very next night in a loss to Miami, Chris Paul injured his hamstring, but this is what James Harden needed for him to go off. With him having the ball in his hands more, this dude was finna go nuts. 39-10 in a win against the Spurs. He lights up the Christmas tree against OKC on Christmas night with 41. 2 nights later, he goes off for a light 45-9 threes. He drops off New Orleans with 41-9-6. And on New Year's Eve against Memphis, he lit some early fireworks with a 43-point triple-double for his 4th straight 40-point game. James Harden was breaking basketball and ankles. Jamal Murray, bye-bye. Actually, come back. His signature step back was an ankle-breaking machine. Try to force him into the paint, into everyone's demise. He'll draw fouls like it's nobody's business. Double team him and he'll effortlessly swing no-look dimes for wide open dunks. In his first game of the new year, this one was personal. Warriors versus Rockets, primetime. Harden was entering the defending champs building with a fire unit on standby, averaging over 40 in his last 10 games. And considering these guys just sent him home a year ago, the Beard was about to light their house on fire. Harden walked into the champs building and dropped off 44, 10, 15, and also 10 triples. And this was James' 5th consecutive 40-piece in his 11th straight 30-point game. This dude wasn't just on fire, he was an inferno, pulling Houston all the way up to the 4th seed. It was all Harden, and he was just getting the party started. 38 in Portland, 32-14 against Denver, 42-11-6 on the Bucks, a 43-point triple-double in a win over the Cavs, and a magical 38-point 12-assist performance against Orlando to extend his 30-point scoring streak to 16 games. And just when you thought he couldn't take it to another level, he does a 57-point avalanche against Memphis in mid-January. And he follows it up by one-upping himself just 2 days later with a 58-point double-double to extend his 30-point scoring streak to 20 consecutive games. We were witnessing one of the game's greatest scorers at the peak of his powers. His streak was even dubbed the Unguardable Tour, and his next stop was NYC, entering Madison Square Garden on one of the greatest heaters in recent history. Harden notched 61 points on the night, tying Kobe for the most ever by an opponent in MSG. This dude was a cheat code, and he wasn't getting patched anytime soon. He followed his 60-piece up with 35 against Toronto to get the Rockets' record to 28-20, and as Chris Paul returned in their next game, it didn't slow him down one bit. Brace yourself. 40, 37, 30, 43, 44, 36, 42, 31, 42, and 30. Sounds like I'm reading off lottery ticket numbers. He'd miss his next game due to injury and scored just 28 in his return against Atlanta. Regardless, 32 straight 30-point games is literally historic. It's the second longest streak in NBA history, and it's number 1 in recent NBA history. The streak was over, but the team started a new one. The Rockets won 9 straight games to launch themselves from 5th to 3rd in the West with a 42-25 record, a far cry from where they were at the beginning of the season. Houston was finally looking like themselves again, and the beard was looking better than ever. In the final game of the season, James Harden scored 39 to mark his 57th 30-point game of the year, nearly doubling second place Paul George, while also tallying 28 40-point games and 9 50-pieces and 2 60-point nukes. This dude was the best in the world. Actually, he didn't even win the MVP for this year. It went to Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he walked away with the award pretty decisively. And it lit the NBA world on fire. The belief that Harden was robbed of the award. He averaged 36, 6, and 7, carrying the injury-riddled Rockets to the 4th seed while making history. It was controversial, but he had to get over it. The playoffs were here, and after what just happened last year, the beard wanted his get back, and he would no doubt get his chance. Round 1 of the playoffs saw Harden and the Rockets face off against a second-year Donovan Mitchell. Harden and Donovan Mitchell face off, and the outcome was predictable. Just look at how Ricky Rubio was guarding James Harden in Game 1. That is not a winning strategy. The Rockets blitzed them by 32 points, and Game 2 was the same. Harden took off for a 32-point triple-double, and they win by 20. Houston squeezed out a 3-point win in Game 3. Utah threw one last punch with a win in Game 4. Then Harden stuffed his stat sheet to close it out in 5, which leads him directly to a second-round matchup against a team that's tortured him for the last half-decade. Warriors vs. Rockets was the rematch Harden and the entire basketball world so desperately craved. The Beard and his squad were foaming at the mouth for revenge after what happened in 2018. But in Game 1, they were reminded that these are the Golden State Warriors. Harden went off for 35, but in a tight game, the efficiency just wasn't there. Steph Curry cashed in a dagger 3 with 24 seconds left to ice the game. And in Game 2, Golden State took care of business once again to go up 2. Harden was solid, but they'll need more from him if they want any chance against the defending champs. And in games 3 and 4 back in Houston, it seemed like the perfect place to turn up. The Beard was a flamethrower in games 3 and 4, frying the champs for 41-9-6 and cooking them again for a 38-point double-double and a 4-point win to tie the series at 2 games. Game 5, late in the third, they caught a break. Kevin Durant suffered a calf sprain on a jump shot, forcing him to leave the game, and he will be listed out for the rest of the series. The Rockets had a golden ticket sitting right in front of them. Will they cash it in? Well, the quick answer is no. It was Golden State who answered the call, coming up with clutch buckets late to take a 3-2 lead in the series. And once again, Harden played well with 31 points, but it just wasn't enough. So as he entered Game 6 at home with his back against the wall, he came out firing. The Beard put up a massive 14-point first quarter to set the tone for his squad, but it stayed tight as they took a KD-less Warriors team tied into the second half. In the second half is where their season would end. The Beard's rival went ballistic for 33 points in the final 24 minutes, sending Harden and the Rockets home once again. In a season that saw him eviscerate teams like very few players ever, the outcome was the same, although it ended in heartbreak. 2019 Harden legitimately changed the game of basketball, so much that it wouldn't be known until years later. The rule changes in the ever-evolving art of drawing fouls is all because of one man. Love him or hate him for it, 2019 Harden gave us a season that will forever be etched in history.